Hello guys. This is the Orange Hokage here. And today we are doing What If Naruto Went Back in Time with Sakura Part 11. The link of the original creator story is in the description. So let's get right into the story. Choji and Shikamaru were walking through a misty forest with their client, Tizuna walking in between them. Asuma was bringing up the rear, completing the diamond formation enclosing Tizuna in a protective formation. While the genin and their client was lazily walking down the forest path, Asuma was jumpy looking about, fingers twitching whenever he thought he saw a shadow move. A sudden sound caused the group to stop when Asuma threw a kunai at a bush. After a couple of moments, Ino walked towards the bush and peered in, seeing a dead rabbit. Sighing in relief, Ino picked up the rabbit and walked back to the group. False alarm. It was just a rabbit. Sensei, since you already killed it, can we take it with us? Dad once told me that rabbit stew was very tasty. As Ino waited for his answer, Asuma was scrutinizing the rabbit with skeptical eyes. Beside him, Shikamaru was doing the same. Both of their eyes widened in startling realization. The rabbit was white. The season was summer, whereby the rabbit should have had brown fur. This one had white, ergo it was bred in captivity and probably used for a kawaii. As they came to this realization, they heard a faint whistling sound of something sharp cutting through the air at a fast pace. With a pale face, Shikamaru collided with Tizuna, bringing the drunk old man to the forest floor with him. Beside him, Asuma had tacked Ino and Choji as well, just as a large Zanbato flew at waist height and collided with a tree. Getting up, the genin took on a defensive triangular formation around Tizuna as Asuma warily stared at the famous sword. Suddenly, in a puff of smoke, a man appeared on top of the handle of the sword. The man was wearing black shinobi pants, black sleeveless muscle shirt, blue-violet cloth forearm guards and blue-violet shinobi sandals. His lower face and neck was wrapped in bandages and he had a kiri-hitai tied around his head with the plate facing left. Momoki Zabuza, Kirigakure no Kaijin. To what do we owe this pleasure? Asuma asked with a nonchalant expression while Shikamaru paled even further in fear, cursing and thanking Naruto at the same time for forcing him to memorize the bingo book. The information that he was remembering was scaring him. Sarutobi Asuma, son of the Sandaime Hokage. No wonder the Unokyodai failed. No matter, I will kill you here and then kill the bridge builder. You, snot-nosed genin, if you wish to live, then run back to your mommies. Zabuza said with malice as he easily hefted his sword, the legendary Kubiki Ribacho, onto his shoulders. Suiton, Kirigakure no Jutsu. The mist thickened to the point where all of them could see barely a foot in front of them. A creepy chuckling filled the thick mist before intense killing intent flooded the clearing. The genin started to shiver in panic while Tizuna was nearly frothing at the mouth. Asuma had developed a prominent sweat at the oppressive feeling of the killing intent but stared to releases his own to countermand Zabuza's. Lungs. Liver. Kidney. Clavicle vein. Jugular vein. Heart. Femoral artery. Brain. Spine. So many points to choose from. Which will I go for first? Zabuza's disembodied voice filled the clearing, causing a shiver to run down the genin and their client's spine. At the same time Asuma looked about with worry. The mist was so infused with Zabuza's chakra that his barely adequate sensory abilities were being completely overwhelmed. Why don't I leave it a surprise? Zabuza suddenly appeared inside the formation right in front of a startled Tizuna, only for him to collapse in a puddle of water. Everyone turned to see Ino with her arm extended. A swirling wave of wind was flying through the point Zabuza's face was, drawing in a lot of the mist with it. Ah. Sorry sensei, I just reacted like Naruto taught me. Ino said with a sheepish look. Well, at least the troublesome blonde's torture is coming in handy. Shikamaru said when Zabuza's demented laugh filled the clearing. Well, what do we have here? A genin with some skill. Granted, a Mizubunshin is barely a fifth as strong as the original, but to take it out with a single focused strike imbued with nature transformation is still a grand feat. You would make a perfect assassin. If you were Ankiri before the bloodline purges, I would have personally picked you up as my apprentice. Ah. I will take it as a compliment, but I am not really interested in assassinations. Ino said with an awkward smile. That you should, Missy. Too bad I have to kill you all now. I can't take the chance of underestimating you all now. Zabuza prayed behind Asuma and slashed through him only for Asuma to puff into smoke and be replaced with a split log. Asuma reappeared behind Zabuza and tried to slash at Zabuza's neck only for Zabuza to intercept the Konoha Jonin's trench knives with Kubikiribacho. To the former Kiri Shinobi's surprise, the trench knives scored deep gouges on the flat of the blade. Futon Chakra Flow Technique. I should have expected that. You are quite well known for your wind and fire ninjutsu combinations. No matter, your blood will help repair the damage. Zabuza said with bloodlust before he started to savagely attack Asuma, pushing the cigarette-smoking Jonin into a defensive retreat. Asuma was panting from the exertion. He was coming to his wits' end. No matter what he tried, Zabuza easily countered. He hadn't had such a challenge since his time with the 12 Ninja Guardians. His Kuden ninjutsu was completely useless against Zabuza's Suiton. His futon, while versatile, just didn't have the strength to take down Zabuza with a single strike. Besides, his futon were meant for support and combinations, not direct offense. It had already been 5 minutes and he was starting to feel the onset of chakra exhaustion. A single though was flying through Asuma's mind, a hell of a time to realize I have been slacking in training. Asuma-sensei. Behind you. Ino screamed in fear as another Zabuza appeared behind Asuma. The warning was enough for Asuma to twist his body enough to prevent the fatal blow to his spine, but unfortunately, the second Zabuza's sword carved a massive chunk of flesh from Asuma's shoulder while the other kicked him towards the large pond where another Zabuza was waiting. Before Asuma could even react, the third Zabuza had already went through hand seals before extending an arm towards him. The water around his feet swirled before rising in a swirling cocoon which quickly gained faint red markings from the blood Asuma was losing. Well Asuma, it seems that you are finally defeated. Wait in my Suiton, Suiro no Jutsu and watch while I slaughter your Jinin and your client before I finally end you. Zabuza said, sharing a smirk with the two others. Without a visible signal, both rushed the Jinin, but before they could react, one of them was launched back with great force while the other stopped and warily watched the newcomer. The kid was barely 13 years old with spiky blonde hair, cerulean eyes and wearing a Anbu-style uniform with the Konoha Hitai trapped like a belt while a Hitai with the kanji for Bijū and Senin on his forehead. His Jonin-style flak vest was burnt orange and he was wearing black boots and a red haori with yellow lightning at the bottom hem. He had a sealing kit at his waist and an equipment pouch on each outer thigh. Zabuza would have scoffed, but seeing the look in the blonde's eyes, Zabuza knew not to underestimate him. Especially if he was right about the newcomer's identity. Uzumaki Naruto, I presume? Your reputation precedes you. Though I wonder how much is propaganda and how much is truth. Naruto didn't say anything at first. Before he smirked and said, your reputation precedes you as well, Kirigakure no Kaijin. You should know that your Suiton is completely useless against me. If you are even half as skilled as Jinin of Uzushio were, I would be a fool to try ninjutsu against you. But with your pedigree, I doubt it. Son of one of the greatest Fuinjutsu users of my generation and in Uzumaki. It would be suicide. How about this, do you use Bukijutsu? If so, let our weapons and Taijutsu decide the confrontation. Naruto chuckled, very well, but let me warn you, it will be a very short contest. Zabuza's eyes narrowed at what he thought was an insult when Naruto started moving his hands. Before he could even react, he found himself dispersing and flowing towards Naruto's hand. The real Zabuza watched in shock the mist, his three clones, and the water prison dispersed and flew towards Naruto, who Zabuza could have sworn was dancing. He watched as all that water came together and formed into a dense ball of water above Naruto's head before compressing and freezing into a chunk of ultra-dense ice. Naruto grinned before he tossed the ball into the air. As the ball was falling, Naruto lashed out with a kick, causing the ball to fly towards Zabuza before phasing out of existence. Before Zabuza could react, the ball of ice flew by his face. Loud smacking sound of ice with flesh resounded behind him, causing the former Kiri shinobi to turn around and come stare into the mischievous eyes of Naruto. The ball of ice already reverted into a dense ball of water that Naruto was playing catch with. How? Seeing the dumb expression on Zabuza's face, Naruto grinned before saying, "How what? How did you get here so fast? How are you manipulating the water like that? Are you even a human? Now that would be telling. I might tell you if you give up right now and beg me for the information. Mind you, I said I might. There is still no guarantee that I would." Zabuza glowered as Naruto threw the ball high into the air before clenching his fist, causing the ball to suddenly compress and expand, forming into a low-level dark cloud where some lightning was beginning to form. Naruto grinned and said, "I hope that demonstration gave you an idea of what would happen if you used ninjutsu against me. Now let's see how good my Bijutsu has become. I have about a month's worth of training in the basics. That should be enough to handle someone like you." "What is he doing?" Ino asked with worry. Granted, that level of water ninja was cool, but why is he angering Zabuza? Troublesome blondes. He is playing mind games, trying to unsettle Zabuza. It won't matter who is more skilled in their style of Bukijutsu, if you can't focus. Don't forget what Naruto did to our elite Jonin and Anbu during the evaluation test. Even if he is more skilled, he is playing dirty, gaining every advantage he can. Just like Zabuza was doing when he was telling us all about the fatal points and which he should choose. Oh, stop worrying, guys. This is Naruto. The only person to nearly completely fool everyone other than Sakura, but then again, Sakura was doing the same. I hope I can do similar things with Earth. Choji said with starry eyes. Calm down, big guy. We should help Asuma-sensei first and let Naruto handle Zabuza. Ino said right as the rest of Team 7 appeared in a clearing with a mint-haired girl. At the same time, another Naruto appeared with Asuma slung over his shoulder. Placing the nearly unconscious Asuma on the ground, Naruto took out 6 kunai with tags wrapped around the hilts. Quickly throwing the 6 into a hexagonal pattern, Naruto placed a 7th seal in the middle of the formation and channeled chakra into it. A 5-meter-tall pole of golden chakra erupted from the 7th seal, while 4-meter-tall ones erupted from the 6 boundary ones. The tops of the boundary rods connected with wires of golden chakra before thinner filaments formed the boundary poles towards the central pole. When the framework had settled, forming panes of translucent golden chakra formed between the poles and the wires until a hexagonal house-like barrier formed around group. Why the barrier, Naruto? Sakura asked as she kneeled down beside Asuma and placed a glowing palm on the man's wounded arm before withdrawing it in shock. What the hell? How is he regenerating like that? What did you do now, Naruto? Well. No, don't tell me. The barrier is meant to accelerate regeneration of everyone within, isn't it? This is one of your clan's hidden jutsu, right? Naruto looked serious as he said, that's right, but a modified version. The original was meant to facilitate healing jutsu cast within it. This one causes a powerful regeneration ability to manifest on anyone injured within to the same level of a Jinchuriki's regeneration. I modified it, just didn't have the time to test it fully. It also replenishes chakra by changing natural energy into usable chakra without turning the target to stone. I call it the Uzumaki Hijutsu, 7 Tensei Shohiki. It also acts like a barrier that prevents outside interference and is strong enough to survive 3 futon, Rasen Shuriken back-to-back before collapsing. No one said anything, because what could they say? Naruto never did anything by half. So pulling such a technique isn't impossible for him. Nodding to herself, Sakura decided to help the barrier in healing Asuma while the others turned towards the Naruto who was taunting Zabuza. You know, Oyainen, you shouldn't be skulking around here like this. Someone could mistake you for having wrong intentions. The masked Oyainen jumped before pulling out some senbon and nearly chucked them towards Naruto before Naruto caught hold of the Oyainen's wrist. I mean, you no harm. Your target is Zabuza, right? That's right, Uzumaki-sama. The Oyanin said with a nervous twitch. Then you can have him, just let me test out my Bajutsu against him before you do that. Goodbye, I am sure we will meet again, miss. Naruto said with a knowing tone before dispersing in smoke, leaving behind a puzzled Oyanin. I think you have bitten off more than you can chew this time, Zabuza-sama. No matter, I will make sure to save you, even if I lose my life in the process. Or I will be a useless tool. So Zabu-chan, are you ready? Naruto said with a simpering tone, causing Zabuza to audibly growl in anger. Watch it, boy. You may be stronger, but I have more experience in Bakujutsu. Naruto nodded before both of them reappeared in the middle of the clearing with Zabuza holding Kubikiribacho over his shoulder. Naruto unsealed a staff made of silver chakra metal and got into a defensive stance. You can have the first strike, Zabuza. Here I will make it easier. I will close my eyes for you. Zabuza watched with annoyance at Naruto's audacity but just shrugged and charged towards the boy with the intent on ending the boy with a single strike. As Zabuza was about to cleave Naruto in half, Naruto expertly swiped his staff and parried the blow before spinning and ramming the staff into Zabuza's stomach. Jumping back, Zabuza took a deep breath and started viciously attacking Naruto with swipes, kicks and thrusts. To his shock, Naruto kept dodging, parrying and countering with his eyes still closed. After a couple of minutes of assaulting the blonde, Zabuza jumped back and started taking in deep breaths. Naruto opened his eyes and smirked, saying, "Well, you had your chance. Let me try." Without warning, Naruto jumped forward, swinging his staff with an expertise that beguiled all expectations. For the next minute, Zabuza tried to dodge, parry or counter Naruto's blows only to partially succeed. The strikes he was able to parry or dodge were feints, and the counters he was able to connect were shrugged off with impunity. At the end of the short but furious bout, Zabuza was completely exhausted. Looking up with tired eyes, Zabuza's eyes widened in fear as Naruto thrusted his staff with great strength, catching the man in the stomach and launching him into a tree. The impact was so hard, that the tree snapped in half and fell backwards. That was fast. Great job, Naruto. Zabuza groaned and looked up to see Kakashi standing beside Naruto with a kunai in his hand. Zabuza watched as Naruto nodded before saying, "I must say, I had underestimated how good Zabuza is with that Zanbato of his. The only reason I won so easily was because I have greater stamina, strength and my sensory perception. Without those, Zabuza would have won." "Do you want to do the honors, or should I?" Kakashi asked as he pointed his kunai at Zabuza. Naruto just shrugged, causing Kakashi to nod and pull his hand back to throw the kunai when 3 senbon needles struck Zabuza in the neck. Kakashi warily looked towards the source to see Akiri Oyanin sitting on the branch with some more senbon in hand. As agreed, since I saw you weren't going to kill him, I decided to do it for you, Uzumaki-sama. As part of the deal, I will now take care of his body and sword. The Oyanin said, causing confusion among everyone present except Sakura, who already knew what was happening. Naruto had made a deal with Haku to seem like he wasn't interested in creating an international incident, which would have happened if Haku was a real Kiri Oyanin. "Let me check that he is dead. No offense to your skills, Oyanin-san, but senbon has a very low fatality rate," Kakashi said with a suspicious expression on his lone eye. Surprisingly, the Oyanin nodded. "I agree with you. I prefer senbon as I am mostly dispatched to capture my targets alive. Unfortunately of Zabuza, I was sent to kill him. Check him, I can guarantee that he is dead. I swear on my honor as a Kiri Oyanin." Kakashi nodded as he approached Zabuza and, kneeling down, felt for a pulse. After a couple of moments, Kakashi stood up and declared that Zabuza was dead. The Oyanin nodded before jumping down from the tree and landing beside Zabuza's body. Taking out a kunai, the Oyanin turned to the group and said, "I would advise you Jinin to turn around. The next sight will be gruesome. If you haven't had your first kills, it would be very unsettling." Asuma, who was completely healed by now, nodded and said, "I agree with the Oyanin. If any of you don't wish to watch the Oyanin behead Zabuza, Then I advise you all to turn your head. Dazuna and most of the genin turned their heads away. Only Sakura, Naruto and Fu kept watch with Asuma and Kakashi. The Oinin nodded and placed the kunai at Zabuza's throat before quickly making a couple of one-handed hand seals out of the view of everyone and suddenly disappeared. Asuma and Kakashi cursed while Sakura and Naruto looked at each other and nodded. At least some part of their plans were still feasible. The way Haku was behaving caused an unseen tension on their shoulders. Seeing Haku take away Zabuza was a massive relief to them. Dazuna and the genin turned back too as soon as Kakashi and Asuma cursed and saw Zabuza and the Oinin were gone. Ino, being the inquisitive one, asked, "Where are the Oinin and Zabuza's corpse?" The Oinin was Zabuza's accomplice. Unfortunately, even though I had my suspicions, I couldn't interfere for fear of causing an international incident, if my suspicions were wrong. By the time we realized what happened, the Oinin had already taken Zabuza away. "But you said that he was dead?" Sasuke asked with a frown before his eyes widened in realization. Senbon. The Oinin used Senbon. It may have carried a fast-acting poison that temporarily sends the body into a death-like state. Close, but not quite, Sasuke. The Senbon struck the neck in a particular sequence. The same sequence of striking with a finger would activate pressure point that would induce a death-like state. Sakura said with her expertise in human anatomy and her knowledge from the future. Everyone nodded in deference to her speciality. Sakura was the only one with knowledge and expertise among them to truly understand what happened. Asuma shakily stood up and asked, "How long will he be out, Sakura?" "I would put it up to a week to recover from the death-like state. Then another one to recover from the strikes Naruto were able to land on him." "Did you break anything serious?" Sakura asked Naruto with a frown. "A couple of ribs. Probably a ruptured spleen. The impact with the tree should have cracked a couple of vertebrae. Probably a concussion. Nothing serious that would take Zabuza out for more than 2 weeks. 3 tops if the fake Oinin doesn't have medical expertise." Sakura nodded. "Then let us assume the worst, expect them to try again in a week's time." "Wait, Naruto-sama, what did the fake Oinin mean about a deal? When did you make a deal with the fake Oinin?" Fu asked, causing Shikamaru to focus shrewd eyes on the blonde. "I had my suspicions as well. Unfortunately, being a daimyo, my actions would have greater effect on the world at large. If I was mistaken, then since the Oinin and my mission weren't putting us on opposite sides, it could have been taken as me trying to avenge the fall of the Uzumaki clan at the hands of the Kirikumo-Iwa coalition. That would sour the already precarious relations of Konoha with Kumo and Iwa." Fu nodded in understanding when Shikamaru spoke up. "Why not follow them now? You have nearly unparalleled sensory abilities. Think, Chika, what would you do in the Oinin's position?" Naruto said with a serious expression. "I would expect you to follow me. I see what you mean, but you have the power to easily dispatch the enemy. Why not take it?" "Simple really, Shika. We have traveled non-stop for 2 days directly from Kuri. Even I have my limits. While I am not really that close to collapsing, it is better to fight on your own terms instead of letting the enemy dictate the terms. Now let's get moving. Sasuke doesn't have the stamina to keep going and still have strength to fight if he doesn't rest soon." Everyone nodded while Sasuke huffed in annoyance but didn't say anything. Though it hurt his pride to admit it, but Naruto was right. For all of his skills, he still had poor stamina. Even Sakura had better stamina than him and Fu was a Jinchuriki. It seems that all Jinchuriki are blessed with massive stamina, which in his opinion was unfair. "Dazuna-san, direct us to your home. We are close, right?" Asuma asked as he stood up and stretched. "Not more than an hour's walk from here." "All right then, Team 10 and Sasuke, you take diamond formation around Dazuna with Sasuke at point. The rest of us will take up a pentagon formation around the diamond formation with Naruto at point, Asuma and me at the rear and you two on Naruto's left and right, your choice," Kakashi said with Asuma nodding in agreement. After the formation was ready, The group started walking again while one of Naruto's clones destroyed the ceiling tags of the barrier so as to not leave any evidence of the barrier. The group was nearing Dezuna's house when Asuma suddenly realized that they had an extra member with them. Staring at Fu, Asuma asked, "I seem to have forgotten to ask, but who are you?" Sasuke chuckled and said, "This is Fu, the Jinchuriki of the Nanabi no Kabutomushi." Naruto strong-armed Taki to release her into service of the Uzumaki clan for the transgressions of the Taki elders against his clan. Don't forget that the Taki daimyo has acceded all ownership rights of the Nanabi to the Uzumaki clan as a way of trying to appease Naruto. Though dissolving the 100-year-old treaty was a bit harsh but an acceptable course of action, especially since Naruto would completely crush Taki for the transgressions. Sakura said with a small grin, causing Team 10 and Tazuna to gape at the blonde while Fu simply smiled in amusement. And Taki agreed, just like that? Ino asked with incredulity. Naruto-sama can be very persuasive. Hell, he even convinced the Nanabi to work with me instead of passively resisting. You are lucky that Chomai was only passively resisting. Kurama used to actively resist me. I couldn't even draw a single tail's worth without nearly losing control. Anyway, you will still need to master yourself and your emotions before you can truly use Chomai's power. Fu huffed and mumbled, "Stupid meditation. I can swear that you inwardly laugh at me whenever I fail." "Ah, here we are!" Tazuna suddenly exclaimed, drawing everyone's attention to the large house standing alone near a dock. As everyone stared at the house admiring the scenery, Tazuna walked up to the door and knocked, bringing everyone out of their reverie. A middle-aged, wearing a pink top and blue skirt, opened the door with an apprehensive look. Seeing Tazuna standing in front of her, a smile blossomed on her beautiful visage. "Father, you're home safe." "That I am Tsunami, and it's all thanks to these super shinobi with me. Especially the young blonde one. He toyed with the demon of a man sent to kill me before the man was taken away by his accomplice posing as a ninja from another village. I am sure that I am perfectly protected while they are here." "That's good news. I thank you for protecting my father, Shinobi-san. Please come in and make yourselves at home, though unfortunately we only have one spare room," Tsunami said, standing aside to let her father and his guard enter the house. "Not to worry. Sakura-chan and I am well used to living outside, so are Kakashi-sensei and Asuma-sensei," Naruto said with a grin, with Sakura, Kakashi and Asuma nodding in agreement. "Besides, I always carry multiple survival kits with me nowadays." "Wait, you have multiple survival kits, complete with tent, rations and medical supplies on you right now?" Ino asked incredulously. "Yeah, isn't Fuinjutsu the best thing in the world?" Ino blinked before muttering, "I should have though to bring my gear sealed in a scroll. It would have been so much easier." Ignoring Ino's muttering, the rest of the Konoha ninja settled down around the living room. "So the legendary Kirigakure no Kaijin was defeated. You know, I expected better. After all, your reputation preceded you. I am paying you a lot of money. Make sure to kill the bridge builder, or you will regret it," Gato said with a sneer. "I nearly did win. If Uzumaki Naruto didn't appear, I would have already finished the mission. I underestimated the brat last time. Next time, I won't," Zabuza said with a growl, causing Gato to step back a couple of steps. With a shaky voice, Gato asked, "Uzumaki Naruto is here? In Nami right now?" "Yes, why? Are you afraid of the brat? I wouldn't fault you. The Uzumaki were dangerous foes. Besides, Uzumaki Naruto's father was also the only person to get the flea on-site recommendation in his bingo book entry. If I were you, I would hide in the farthest reaches of the elemental nations and hope that Uzumaki ignores you," Zabuza said with a feral tone, causing Gato to shiver in fear. "Mind your tongue, Zabuza. I am not afraid of anything. Make sure to kill him as well. If you succeed, I will pay you 5 times the amount I promised you," Gato said before leaving the hut where Zabuza and his accomplice were. After Gato and his 2 men left, a young girl walked out of the shadows, wearing the uniform of the Kiryoinen. Her mask clutched in her hand. "Zabuza-sama, I don't mean to insult you, But should we just consider the mission a failure and retreat? I mean, with the addition of Hatake Kakashi and Uzumaki Naruto. I know that Uzumaki Naruto doesn't have the field experience, but from what little I saw during your fight, he is skilled enough to make do, not to mention, is insanely powerful. We alone can't hope to survive such an encounter. Zabuza was quiet after the impassioned speech the girl gave before chuckling. I agree with you, Haku, especially since we would already be dead by now unless Uzumaki wants something from us, isn't that right, Uzumaki Naruto? A chuckling filled the hut, causing Haku to stiffen in shock and fear before turning to face the source of the voice. Naruto was leaning by the door to the storage room of the hut. His face was partially hidden in the shadows while his blue eyes shone with an inner light that seemed to draw her in. Finally, he was tossing a ball of compressed water which was transforming into ice before reverting back to water with each consecutive throw. You would be right there, Zabuza. I have an offer for you. Not as a Konoha ninja, but as the daimyo of Yuzu no Kuni. Will you hear me out? Though it seemed to have been posed like a question, both Zabuza and Haku knew that Naruto would continue, even if they declined. Besides, it wasn't like they had anything to lose hearing him out. Sure, go on ahead. Not like I have any pressing appointment. Naruto nodded, good decision. If you had declined, then I am afraid you would have been sent to the pure world. Zabuza and Haku shivered at the tone, but kept quiet as Naruto continued. Now to my offer is simple. As I am a daimyo, I am one of the few people that can pardon you for your crimes. What I want is that you pledge your loyalty to Yuzo Onkuni and help me rebuild Uzashiage no Sato. In return, I will help you free Kiri. That's what your ambition is, right? Save Kiri from the self-destructive phase it is going through with the bloodline purges. Zabuza and Haku gawked at Naruto in shock. This was the first time someone realized Zabuza's true goal. Everyone thought that Zabuza was just the common power-hungry traitor, especially with his bloody reputation. What's the catch? I get that I will become a shinobi under the Uzumaki clan and later the reformed Uzashiage, but that can't be the only catch. Naruto grinned, you are right, the catch is that you will have to give up Kubikiribicho. In return, I will help you forge a sword that will rival the 9 sacred treasures of the Uzumaki. To be exact, it will rival the Kuraijisai no Ha. The Blade of Dark Immolation. The same sword that Uzumaki Tsukunada used when the Kaguya clan invaded Yuzu 500 years ago? The sword that is said to be blessed by the sun goddess Amaterasu herself? Zabuza asked with incredulity while Haku looked at the two in confusion. Seeing the confused look, Zabuza clarified, Uzumaki Tsukunada was a legendary swordswoman. Her sword had the ability to summon the flames of Amaterasu-sama herself. The black flames that completely consumed only the target, leaving the rest unharmed. Tsukunada-sama fought against the 300 Kaguya alone and lost her life. It is said that as she was dying, she merged her spirit with the sword, allowing it to become sentient, granting it even greater power. A new form that is said to be able to reduce the world to ashes. As her last act, she released an inferno that reduced every enemy in the battlefield to ashes, leaving the trees and allies unharmed. To forge a new sword that can rival such a legendary artifact, you can see why I am shocked. Haku nodded in understanding before Naruto interrupted, the story is not completely true. In truth, Tsukunada-san didn't infuse her spirit into the sword as she died. She infused her spirit as the sword was being forged. And she died using the sword's most powerful technique, Zanjutsu Gakui. It clads the user in black flames that makes the user completely impervious to any physical attack. Only high-powered Raitanjutsu can penetrate the flames as it absorbs all other fire and incinerates corporeal elements. Anything touching the black flames will be instantly incinerated. Keeping the technique active too long will cause the flames to consume the user as well. If I did accept, why would you trust me? I don't have the stellar track record of being loyal. Oh, I have ways to ensure loyalty, but I don't think I will need them. Instead, I will apply a seal that will paralyze you if you think of betraying me or mine. Now to the young lady. Haku, right? Haku nodded, confused at what Naruto wanted with her. I know your ability. You are one of the last Hayaton users in the world. The last of the Yuki clan. I can feel the icy chakra flowing through you. I will allow you to recreate your clan in Yuzu and grant you the rank of nobility in my country. There are a few more survivors spread around the world, I am sure of it. I will help you find them as well. No one can hide from my sensory abilities. The only catch is absolute loyalty to Yuzu. You would allow me to reform my clan and elevate it to noble status? Haku asked with surprise. I will only do it with the first 6 clans to join or form in the reformed Yuzu. Now that I think about it, Zabuza, I will allow you to create your own clan as long as you find a worthy enough reason to be allowed to form a clan. The sword I will forge shall be your family heirloom. So what do you say? Can we get some time to think about it? You offer much and all of it life-changing. It isn't an easy decision. We will tell you our decision in 3 weeks on the bridge. We won't attack before then. Naruto nodded before fading from existence. He was a clone. Haku asked in shock. Zabuza just nodded before saying, what do you think, Haku? Should we accept his offer? I don't know, Zabuza-sama. To be served such an offer on a golden plate, I can't help but suspect subterfuge. Haku said with concern. Zabuza nodded before saying, we have 3 weeks to accept or deny the offer. If we deny, then we will also have to forfeit our lives. I don't think he would kill us, if we abandon our mission and never show up at the bridge. Haku said with uncertainty. That may be true, but what if he takes offense and hunts us down? He is a daimyo after all. Nobility, permission to create a clan, recreate in your case and clearing of all charges. If he is sincere, then we would have more than ever before. At least a safe home, even if he doesn't give the former. So retreat isn't an option. Haku nodded in agreement before walking out of the hut calling out, I will be back soon with the medicinal herbs, Zabuza-sama. Please don't strain yourself while I am gone. Zori, send word to Iwa. I have a job for them. Gato said with a confidence. Are you sure, boss? You know that we can't get out a deal with a village. Zori said with a nervous expression. Who says, we kill the survivors and say they all died against the enemy. Then we don't pay them because we had to kill the targets ourselves, Gato said with a grin. Not like anyone can survive an onslaught of hundreds of samurai. Zori just shared an unsure look with Waraji before nodding. As you wish, boss, but don't come complaining to me when the deal turns sour. Team 7 and 10 sat quietly as they had dinner with Tizuna and his family. Everyone was quiet because of the irritated aura Naruto was giving off and glaring at Asuma from time to time. Everyone could feel the tension in the room. After dinner was finished, Sakura, Ino and Fu offered to help with the dishes and quickly retreated from the room in fear of the impending fireworks. Shikamaru was warily looking from his sensei to Naruto and back. Choji was for once, not eating anything, nervously looking at the scene from the back of the room. Sasuke and Kakashi were leaning on the wall beside the main door and watching with hidden amusement. Tizuna was on his back, completely unconscious from overdrinking. After a few more minutes of tense silence, Asuma finally spoke up, Did I do anything to irritate you, Naruto-sama? You tell me? Naruto said with an emotionless tone. Asuma sweated in realization of what he had done to irritate Naruto, but decided to play dumb in hopes of not being scolded too much. He was not going to be able to live down a second scolding. Not with Kakashi watching it. I don't think I have done anything to offend you. Really? Then what about laziness? What about not training your Genin team enough before taking them on a C-rank mission? What about not training yourself back to your prime? The same power you had when you were a member of Hideyoshi Dano's guard. Asuma flinched at each of the points Naruto made. Normally, Asuma would have told Naruto that he had no authority to scold a Jonin on his actions. But with the Fire Daimyo and the Hokage giving Naruto the orders to train a select few shinobi, among whom he, himself was included, Naruto had all the right to scold him. You are pathetic. The very first training session you participated to learn ninjutsu, you saw that your stamina had diminished, Your chakra has grown, but you haven't trained to maintain your control. You failed to train your genin to increase their chakra reserves appreciably. If I'm not mistaken, you wouldn't have taught them the tree climbing and water walking techniques yet. Luckily I did during ninja training. Most of all, you should have easily defeated Zabuza. Both in skill and if you had bothered to learn a few more powerful futon ninjutsu, not to mention if you used ninju. You have earth for Kami's sake. You could have easily defeated Zabuza with earth ninju. But you never thought of using ninju at all. You panicked and reverted to old habits. In doing so, you had endangered your students and your client. You shouldn't have accepted the mission in the first place. We all know C-rank missions can easily escalate to higher rank. You have failed in being a sensei and a shinobi of Konoha. I am very disappointed. If you are not interested in applying the arts of ninju to your style, then don't bother coming back to learn, but make sure to be a better sensei. Your father trained 3 legendary shinobi, even if one of them became a traitor, he was a great sensei and he did that while he was Hokage. Hell, even Konohamaru would be a better sensei, only because he isn't lazy. Clean up your act Asuma before you get your team, yourself and your comrades killed. Naruto stood up and left without another word, leaving the rest in an uncomfortable silence. After a couple of moments, Shikamaru sighed and said, "Damn, that was terrifying, troublesome blonde. No emotion. I didn't even think Naruto could become emotionless like Kot. You should clean up your act as well, Shika, before Naruto turns his attention on you. You and Sensei have been lazy playing shogi so much. Even Ino has been training hard. Did you see how easily she defeated the Onikyodai with only her air ninju? Tomorrow morning, meet me for training at 5 a.m. sharp. Kakashi, make sure you aren't late, and I already let the girls know. I will take first patrol tonight and scout for a training area nearby as well," Naruto said, phasing into existence before phasing out. "That is scary, how he can create and dispel his clones without smoke," Choji said with a nervous laugh. "Asuma, don't take Naruto's words too hard. He is only looking out for us. Also, strategy is good, but being unable to implement it helps no one. You always had that problem. Now I am going to bed. I really don't want Naruto to put those stupid resistance and gravity seals on me again," Kakashi said before leaving the room. Sasuke followed his sensei, but just before leaving he smirked and said, "I advise you all to have a good night's sleep. Naruto's training will make you wish you were in the 9th circle of hell." He didn't really mean that, right, Shika? Choji asked with uncertainty. If Sasuke is saying that, then I have no reason to doubt it. Troublesome, no wonder Naruto and Sakura are so strong. Tsuchikage-sama. I have urgent news for you, a Chunin said, rushing into the Tsuchikage's office. Well, what is it? I don't have all night, you know. Anoki said with a frown as the Chunin caught his breath. After a few moments of panting, the Chunin stood up and handed the aged Tsuchikage a scroll. The Tsuchikage read the information, which seemed to be a request for an assassination mission. As Anoki read further, his eyebrows rose higher at the information. Placing the scroll down, Anoki took out a bingo book and opened it to the target page. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Title, Bijū Senin. Gender, male. Age, 12+. Father, Namikaze Minato. Mother, Uzumaki Kushina. Rank, Junin, Senin. Taijutsu, High S. Ninjutsu, High S. Genjutsu, Mid A. Fuinjutsu, High S, Uzumaki. Bukijutsu, NA. Chakra, High Bijū level. Affinity, All. Threat ranking, High S. Assessment, do not engage unless in a team with an S-ranked individual. Bounty, NA. Notes, fully realized Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. Accomplished sensor with the ability to sense emotions and life force. During an evaluation, was able to defeat a number of mid to high A ranked on team versus 1 combat. Raikage personally observed the evaluation and have come to this assessment. Anoki looked at the entry with a horrified visage. He couldn't believe what he was reading. If what Kumo had published was true, then they had a dangerous enemy out there. How his spies missed the information, he didn't know, but this was information that could tip the balance of power. Anbu, get the council together. I don't care if they are sleeping, or busy. Have them in the council chambers within 10 minutes, even if you have to drag them out in their pajamas. Onoki ordered as his son walked into the room. What's going on, father? Kitsuchi asked with concern. It seems you are expecting an invasion. Ah, Kitsuchi. It's good that you are here. Here, read this. Onoki said, giving Kitsuchi the bingo book with the page open. Kitsuchi nodded and read the information before paling in realization of what he read. That man had a son? Onoki nodded, causing Kitsuchi to pale even further. What are we going to do? We are still enemies with Konoha. If Konoha decides to attack, with that kid leading, it will be a massacre. Especially if Jiraiya and Tsunade of the Sannin join in. We can't let Kurotsuchi know. She will head out and try to kill him herself. I know. I don't want to anger Konoha, but we were asked for an assassination mission. The target is being guarded by Uzumaki, Hatake Kakashi, and Sarutobi Asuma. Do you think I should accept? We can't try and kill Uzumaki during the mission without fear of repercussions, but should we? I don't know, father, but my vote is to not involve ourselves with this affair. We aren't ready for a war, nor do I think we will succeed in trying to kill Uzumaki. Are you calling the council meeting to discuss this? That's right. You think I shouldn't? I would say yes, but not letting them know now would come back and bite you later. Besides, you don't need to accept any of their demands. Iwa is not a democracy after all. You are right, Kitsuchi. Even if they want, I don't have to accept the mission if I think it is not worth it. Sasuke and Sakura were holding up Shikamaru between them. Behind them Fu was supporting Choji while carrying a barely conscious Ino on her back. In front of them Kakashi and Asuma were walking, but if one observed carefully, they could see they were barely standing. Naruto is a slave driver. A real demon. Ino whispered, causing Fu to giggle. I didn't think it was that bad. Speak for yourself, sister. Stupid Jinchuriki and their massive stamina. Ino grumbled, causing Fu to giggle even more. Don't complain, Ino. If Naruto hears you complain, he will only increase your reps. Sakura said with a grin, causing the blonde-haired girl to audibly groan. I can't feel my legs. Shikamaru grumbled, causing Sasuke to smirk and say, at least you are still conscious. I was out cold the first few times. What did I do to deserve such punishment? Choji groaned, not even having any energy to eat his potato chips. So guys, that's it for today. If you like this story and want more, so subscribe and turn on the bell icon. And till then, take care and goodbye.